Financial Class Defaults. Go to the Master Files and down and click on Financial Class Default. Now the Financial Class Default determines how the patient's insurance will be billed, and so a financial class is going to be created for each insurance carrier that you'll be billing to. You'll see over on the left hand side a few of the defaults that Advanced MD is already set up. You'll want to click on them and make the changes, but for right now let's go ahead and create our own. I already have Aetna. Let's do Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Type in the code, and you'll notice in certain screens you're allowed more text or characters in the code field than others. Just basically when your cursor stops, you want to move on. Spell it out in the description field, and now set your defaults. Does the provider accept the carrier's allowed amount? If yes, leave the default alone. Responsible party. Is it the insurance or family? Basically, the only time you'll set it to family is when you're working on the self-pay financial class, which we'll discuss a little bit later on. Do you want to bill the insurance? Yes. Skip the risk amount, as that's basically no longer used. And then we have the auto write-off. In other words, whatever the insurance carrier doesn't pay Blue Cross Blue Shield, we want to automatically write off the rest. And then be sure to click its adjacent auto write-off code. And I'll double-click Write-Off Insurance. Is there a capitation write-off? Yes or no, and then select the appropriate code. For the default account type, click on the ellipsis button, and usually it'll be a typical account unless of course you're working on the financial class for the self-pay. So double click, and next the fee schedule. Now you don't have to have a fee schedule tied to the insurance carrier's financial class default, but it's really helpful for the biller if you do have it, so when they start entering in payments it'll automatically pull in the allowed amounts that are tied. If not, then you'll have a lot of work, or the biller will, to enter in those allowed amounts in over and over and over again. Click the ellipsis button, find the allowable fee schedule for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and double click on it to tie it. Finally, we have the charge allowed, the CA, either yes or no. And what that means is that you want to reflect the allowables as the charge, and the only time that you will use it is basically for global insurance carriers or self-pays. For example, when you set up the self-pays and you want to charge a certain amount, say $50 for a procedure code, whereas you'd charge $100 when billing the insurance, because you set up an allowable for the self-pays, you can have it reflect as the charge by selecting this option yes here. The bill lab, you leave the default set to yes, so all lab charges will be billed as usual. If you set it to no, then all charge codes starting with 8, like 80,000 through 89,999, will be assigned a fee of 0 and the charges will not be billed. Be sure to go ahead and select the allowable write-off code because you won't be able to say the financial class default. Click the ellipsis button and then choose your standard write-off insurance code. And then when you click save, it'll add it over here to the left-hand side. Be sure to click clear and add more financial class defaults, again one for each insurance carrier. Or if you'd like, you can click on one of the defaults that Advanced MD has and then make your changes, and be sure to click Save. One final note is that before you set your financial class defaults up, it's a good idea to get your fee schedule set up. So when you click on the ellipsis button, you can actually double click and choose the corresponding fee schedule. Now you don't have to put in all the allowables for each fee schedule and have them 100% before you start setting up your financial classes. For example, I could have set up my Blue Cross Blue Shield and have no allowables in there, but as long as I have the name and double click and tie it to Blue Cross Blue Shield, at least it's a start, so later on when I do enter my allowables, it's already been tied. What you want to keep in mind is first, set up all your insurance carriers. Second, set up the allowables, at least the name of the allowable for the insurance carrier. And like I said, later on when you get time to go ahead and enter those allowables, or when the EOBs come in, to start typing them in the fee schedules. Thirdly, and set up your financial class defaults. So keep those in mind in that order and you'll do fine.